Hi, my friends. Welcome to the energy report for the week of Friday, July 7th to Thursday, July 13th. And I am still sort of like integrating and processing the profoundness of last week's reading. It's funny because at the time that I pulled the cards and recorded the reading I did it on Friday last week, I shared my reflections on how I was reading the cards for myself, and all of that was very true. It was very, very accurate and true. But I had no idea how deeply and on how many levels it would be true for me, the sequence of cards that came up. It was just really, really wild. And so I'm excited to get into this energy report because it's just very much following on that theme. A little bit less intense, but the way I read it, because I've said multiple times that it's not like I think the energies that are being brought forward in a given reading are specifically contained within like 7 calendar days. It's just that I like doing a weekly energy report. That's really why I'm doing it. But it's not like because the week is over and now here we are at a new Friday and I'm doing new cards that the energies that were introduced last week to our conscious minds, that those are just over now. I feel like they are carrying forward, and this week's reading is sort of a nuanced explanation of some of the things we need to be aware of in order to maximize the profound death and rebirth transition that we are currently moving through, individually and collectively, I'm sure. So the first card that I pulled is another major arcana card. It is the Hermit, but that is the only major arcana card for this week. The other two cards that I pulled are the Ace of Wands and the Four of Cups. So the Hermit to me is, first of all, I never feel like I have a lot to say about the Hermit card itself because it's super self-explanatory. It's the Hermit's journey. It's a you thing. It's a me thing, it's about self and going inward. It's something that we can't take anybody else truly along the ride, not along on this ride. We can share what's going on with us and, swap codes in that way, but we can't actually do this with somebody else. It's a solo thing. That's what the Hermit card represents, but also it represents it on a major life theme level. It's not just a season where you're single or whatever. It is a really deep initiation into accepting accepting that it's all an inner game. And I know this isn't new news. It's certainly not the first time that I've heard about it or thought about it, but it is, it's coming forward right now to be spoken about again. So it's all you, baby. It's all you. And that means you've got to figure it out. Meaning, the way that it translates to me is like, we have to accept at a whole new level. I would say almost at a complete level. That is how it feels to me. It really does. It feels like that urgent isn't the right word, but like that necessary at this point. It feels that timely that we have to pretty much completely accept that we are actually creating this experience we're having. The good, the bad, the ugly. It's us. It is an externally manifested reflection of what we are on the inside, the sum total of our beliefs and our perceptions of self, the identity we have crafted consciously or unconsciously, usually a combination of both, our stories. And it's not ever about anybody else or anything else. It really, truly isn't. It isn't about what the other party in your situation that's getting your goat. It is not about what they do or say. That is I would say that that's inconsequential, but it's not entirely true. It is of consequence, and it's very beneficial data. But it's like that other person doesn't need to change shit, because it almost in a way that other person isn't real. Now, it's risky to say that, because I'm definitely not suggesting that I think I'm the only real person and the rest of you aren't real. You're all so very real to me. Everybody is real. But when I say it's almost like the other person isn't real, it's kind of like that is the level of personal responsibility that is being required of us now, that we're being asked to self-initiate into willingly. And again, like I'll bring it back to something I said, I don't know, some handful of weeks ago when I was talking about the heart portal and being pulled into the heart plane, and I think that is the flash and blah, 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 blah. And like it behooves us to do a bunch of clearing work in advance, because when we all get pulled into like the heart level of consciousness, we're going to be met with the accumulated field of felt experience around everything that has ever happened. And that's going to be intense. So I'm kind of like, let's just preemptively work on it now. But anyway, I'm going to kind of bring it back to that and say that I feel that this is what is being required of us now, whether we cooperate or not. And for those of us who are interested in consciously participating in this like, I don't know, ascension time that we're going through, this ascension process, we are open to receiving these messages through gentle forms like energy reports, and then having the wherewithal to self-reflect and figure out what these messages mean for us personally in our own lives, and then applying them from there. But I do genuinely feel that there's a point where such like gentle invitations as we are receiving right now through the tarot cards and the Akashic translation, such gentle invitations are not going to be available to us. Like we're like I almost think that the holographic dream projection is going to become more ridiculous, more extreme, and more violent. And I don't mean violent in terms of like physical necessarily, like I'm not trying to scare anybody with that word. I just mean like, really like almost it'll feel like an assault. That is what I mean. Like on some level, I believe that the holographic dream projection is going to start feeling like an assault to us. And it already has been, but even more and more and more, because it's trying to wake us up. And truth be told, like, my entire year right now is devoted to calling out the false matrix and the false matrix manipulation and dark entities. So, I'm really like, I'm framing things through that lens. But truthfully, I'm becoming increasingly suspicious that the false matrix actors are like, they are just characters. They're the bad guy characters within the narrative of the dream, and they are necessary. And it's necessary right now for them to start being like even more overt total assholes, so that more and more and more of us wake up. And that's like the whole purpose of all the extremity of what we are experiencing. Now, I'm definitely not like giving them carte blanche or saying that they are good guys or saying that it isn't real, that there are like truly, truly like dark levels of consciousness that are siphoning off of others, because there absolutely are. But I guess my whole point with that tangent is to say that I feel that we are being required to accept that we are sculpting our own dream in real time. All aspects of it, every aspect of it. In the past, I've hesitated in speaking this way, because it's almost like I can feel people who have been through intense traumas feeling like hella triggered by that concept, right? Like people who've been through terrible things like brutal assault or like really profound accidents, like terrible child abuse, just things that, it can be super offensive to hear somebody, sitting pretty in her at home office being like, you're creating all of it. But unless and until we get to the place where we can see and accept that and forgive ourselves for what we have unknowingly created for ourselves that caused us tremendous suffering, then we can't actually change it. It's like full responsibility is required at this time. And so circling back to my totally long tangent, I think that reality, or our perceived reality, the holographic dream projection is going to be shoving this concept down our throats almost like more and more aggressively until we wake up and accept it. So it behooves us to take these transmissions that come through things like energy reports and be like, okay, where can I look in my life to start applying this understanding and integrating this understanding? So I believe that you are real, and like, my children are real, and like we're all real. But there are infinite versions of everybody in your life. Infinite versions, okay? The one that is in your life right now is in your life because of something inside of you. You are drawing out that aspect of them. If it's an uncomfortable dynamic, you're probably doing it unconsciously. So you're not just a glutton for pain. You just aren't realizing that you are the one that is manifesting that version of that person in your life. But it is you. And if you don't figure that out, then things can't change. I'm like deeply in this lesson right now, but I'm seeing the way that it's reflecting in all areas of manifestation, all areas of my life. And I'm recording the materials for 5D Magic and Manifestation. So I'm even more in this like deep space of like, oh man, it's all an inner game. It's like all of the power is within, all of it, all of it, all of it, all of it. And I even had a conversation with a close friend of mine yesterday, and I don't know, I feel like I didn't really give him what he wanted. He was just venting and feeling so frustrated. And I was kind of, even though I'm a total chick, I was doing that masculine thing of like trying to give him advice and help him find solutions. And I could tell that wasn't really what he was looking for. But, he was just letting me know, like, in his current situation, the hologram has him by the short and curlies. Like, it is manifesting as like an extreme version of the things he doesn't want. And it, like, when that happens, it feels so intensely frustrating, and it feels so natural to want to push that thing away and say no and like get rid of it and whatever. And yet that only reinforces it. It's kind of like the substance of reality, the substance of the hologram is like that. What's it called when you mix cornstarch and water? Is it magic mud? Is that what we used to call it when we were kids? I think it has like an actual, term, whatever. But anyway, it's cornstarch and water. It's like a Newtonian liquid or something like that. I don't know. But it's liquid. Like, it, for all intents and purposes, it's liquid. If you put your finger in it or something, like if you press on it in a very localized way, it acts like liquid. If you swirl it around, it acts like liquid. It is liquid. But if you apply pressure on it that is spread out over like, a surface area, like evenly distributed more or less over a surface area, like you push the flat palm of your hand onto it or the flat sole of your foot, then it acts like a solid. That is what reality is like. So this is why resistance is an issue internally for us. As long as we feel resistance to our current circumstances, we are applying the pressure on it that keeps it in its solidly manifested form. Whereas when we can just accept our current circumstances, and by accepting our current circumstances does not mean that we're just condoning it and saying like, okay, I guess I just settle for this. And it's like, I guess this is all I can have. And I'm just going to roll over and take it. That's not actual surrender. And that's not actually the energy of accepting current circumstances from a place of power. Accepting our current circumstances is accepting like, okay, for whatever reason, I'm manifesting this situation. It's me. It's not somebody else. It's not something else. There is nobody to blame. There's nobody else to point my finger at. Not even the person that it seems to be acting like the biggest dick ever right now. That person is acting that way because I'm manifesting the version of them that acts this way. Why? What is there here for me? It's like a puzzle room. Like you're not going to get out of the room until you solve the puzzle. So just get on with solving the puzzle. And also solving the puzzle doesn't have to be like cognitively figuring it out. Sometimes it is, and that's amazing. And there's usually a piece of that where our conscious mind has to like catch up and be like, whoa. But solving the puzzle is usually more like, it is more of just that acceptance of like, okay, this is what I'm manifesting right now. And it's okay. Like it doesn't have power over me. It's like neutralizing it, basically neutralizing your own reaction to it so that you don't perceive it as a threat to you. And I'm just going to take an extreme example because that's what my brain does. It like searches for the most extreme argument somebody could present. So let's say somebody is in an abusive situation where they're just like, let's say they're in a domestic partnership where there is like, violence and they are bodily unsafe, not to mention like mentally and emotionally, like it's not a good situation. When I say like accepting that the current situation is what it is and it doesn't actually have power over you, I mean like in extreme cases, it is aligning yourself with the most basic, pure truth. So like the most fundamental truths, such as no matter how much this person like dishonors me and brutalizes me, they can't actually ever own me. They can't actually ever have me. I belong to myself and I belong to God. I belong to the forces of light. I am an eternal soul. Even in the worst case scenario, like this person can't pose a threat to the eternal existence of my soul and my consciousness, And then on a more 3D level, it would look like, even though I'm in this like terrible situation right now, there are things that I can, first of all, there are things that I can do to change my situation, even in tiny, small, incremental ways, such as I can learn breath work. I can save up money in order to be able to move when the right opportunity presents. I can start binge listening to Abraham Hicks content on YouTube or anything that I find motivating and high vibrational, whatever. I don't want to give this is a hypothetical scenario, so I don't want to give an exhaustive laundry list of things that one can do. But that's what I mean is like, not like even in an extreme case like that, I am definitely not saying just roll over and keep taking a beating until magically somehow your external situation changes or mercifully the person decides to stop beating you. No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I mean, like realizing that when you change yourself from within, the outside has to change. And there's a reason that this is in your reality. And it's usually at this point in this lifetime, what I see is that it is often a past life theme that is unresolved from that past life / parallel life, whatever, that needs to be resolved and released. And in order for it to be resolved and released, it has to reflect itself in a like present real-time scenario that is triggering and unpleasant, so that we can sit with it and be with it. And it's almost like helping our past life self to dissolve it. And it's like a microdose. So my friend Christina Luna, who is an amazing astrologer and a Patreon member, she totally revolutionized my thinking a couple years ago when she shared the concept of like a microdose, or I kind of almost see it like a homeopathic dose, where a lot of the time in this lifetime, we are living through scenarios that are a microdose or homeopathic, like very small vibrational dose version of a much larger trauma or a much larger sort of theme or whatever that happened in a different life. And it is being replicated in this life on a smaller scale so that we can actually release it and work through it. Because when it happened in its like full potency in a different life, it was way too traumatizing. We couldn't release it. The shit that I see in people's Akashic records, like the things that humans have had to live through, I'm not surprised at all that we couldn't process most of it at the time. And we're kind of the cleanup crew in this lifetime, in this time period. Like so much of our soul purpose is to be the cleanup crew, is to clean up old timelines, old karmic threads, just like old narratives, a lot of stuff that has accumulated in our like soul akasha. So 21 minutes in, that's what I understand when I look at the Hermit card in the context of this whole reading, as well as like following last week's reading, following, June being the Universe card. The Ace of Wands tells me that we have a sense of direction, and it's an action-based direction. So was it a couple of weeks ago? I don't know. A while ago, we saw the Ace of Swords, and I was like, it's this brilliant moment. And that's actually the card for August, just heads up, letting you know. The Ace of Swords is this moment of like profound clarity, like just this like, oh my God, and the penny drops, and suddenly like all the pieces fall into place, and you can see the whole picture, and you're like, what? Like, you just get it. You see the, for better or worse, you see things with clarity. That is the Ace of Swords. The Ace of Wands is a similar kind of clarity, but it's an action-based clarity, which is awesome, because who doesn't love being able to actually take action, knowing what action to take to be effective. So the Ace of Wands is like, this week we're going to have a sense of knowing what to do, but it's like a first step. It's more like knowing what direction to take, what the first steps are. So it's not like knowing and having the complete solution to everything, because there is a journey ahead. I can feel it. But it is the understanding of like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I have to apply myself to. Even though there's no pentacles in this reading, I very much just intuitively feel like if I were to pull another card, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Pentacles card, because I feel a very grounded energy right now, sort of like holding all of us. And I can feel that what would really benefit us is to come up with sort of a regime of sorts. So some kind of routine, something that is sustainable. It's doable, first of all, and it is sustainable. And we can maintain it for, let's say, the entire month of July. Like, I know technically it's like 3 remaining weeks, but whatever. Like at least I've heard that it takes 21 days of doing something for it to become a habit. And so let's say at least 21 days, but probably 30 days. I don't know, whatever. But coming up with, like, for example, a manifestation practice and holding yourself to that practice every day, no matter how you're feeling. Like, you're going to have good days where you're just vibing high and this this manifestation technique is like, oh God, it feels so good. You know it's working. Then you're going to have days, sometimes successive days, where it feels like nothing is happening. This is all pointless. You're in a bad mood. You can barely connect with your, desired manifestation in the first place. And it's probably not even fucking real. And like, life is stupid, right? We all have those days. I know I do. Thankfully, I don't have them too often, but they do definitely happen. And the purpose of having a regime is that you do it and you show up for it, even when you're not feeling like it's yielding results. And that is how results are obtained, because we have to compound those results over time. And if you've ever seen, maybe I'll put it in the comments, but like there are a ton of YouTube videos talking about, like, they're explaining compound interest by using an example of receiving a penny on day one and doubling that every day for 30 days and what it would amount to. And it amounts to over $1 million, but it actually you don't start really seeing the big results until the final few days. So it takes a long time for that penny doubling to compound in a way that feels invisible and totally negligible. And that's the point where most of us get discouraged. And so we just stop doing it because we think it's not working or what's the point. But every time we stop that, we have to start all over. The compounding can't continue. So I feel like this is just me, and this is just coming through the Akashic Records, but that's a piece not reflected in the cards that is being brought forward to me, is the importance of like picking a practice and sticking with it every day for however many days you pick, but I would say minimum of 21 days, no matter how you feel, like rewarding yourself for it. And when I say a technique, I mean like it could be visualizing your like dream future first thing in the morning before you get out of bed. Or it could be the process of like talking yourself into, I think Abraham Hicks calls it like a rampage, where you're just like, I love it when this thing happens. And this is like, it feels so fucking good when I blah, 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 and this blah, 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 and he blah, 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 blahs. And I love it. And I'm so thankful for it. And it's just my favorite thing to blah, blah. And you just keep yourself going until you start vibing high. That's a technique. You could script it out. I love scripting personally. It's like writing out like, this is my reality. This is the reality that I am calling in. I love scripting, and then reading your script every day and just vibing on it. There are so many different techniques to use, but I think it's just important to pick one right now and stick with it so that we can see the results. So the Ace of Wands, maybe the reason that this is coming through is because the Ace of Wands is meant to be about, having a sense of direction on what you want to call in, what you want to create for yourself, what you want to manifest, blah, 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 the reality that you consciously want to create. Because I also have to really emphasize that, manifestation, the way it's been presented for the last handful of decades, is it's almost like tier one. Like they gave us tier one of what manifestation is, because that's what we were ready to handle. And one could sort of ask the question, like why, to what end, like what, and then Abraham Hicks says, because it's the expansion of the universe, blah, 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 blah. And all of that is true. But it can seem self-serving is what I'm trying to get at. And I think that can get in the way for a lot of us too, is this perception of like, yeah, but who am I really, like, am I just so selfish and I'm always asking for more, or like, I'm just so whatever, like, how does this even help anything? It helps because until we realize that we are conscious creators, we can never take this realm over. We can't take it back. We can't truly reclaim it. We can't truly reclaim ourselves. We can't truly reclaim our power. And then we can never get to the point where we collectively, consciously co-create realities that would fucking blow our minds. We have to learn how to do it for ourselves first and become so absolutely certain that this is how it works. And then we will graduate to a point collectively where we can start combining our efforts. And like, honestly, we will blow our own minds at what we're actually capable of doing. I think we're not even living up to like 3% of our inborn potential in terms of being creators and what humans are actually like designed to do. So the Ace of Wands, sense of direction, like where we want to go, the steps we need to take, and also the passion and the excitement and like the zest and zeal for doing it. The Four of Cups is about the importance of chilling out and saying no. It is important to say no to the things that you do not want in this reality. Right now, I'm in this period where I have to be so selective about what I use my bandwidth for. It's very interesting. It's like, I don't know, it's like I only have so much available. The only word I can use for it is bandwidth. Like, it's like a combination of energy and attention and fucks to give, motivation, all those things. I'm just summarizing it with the word bandwidth. I only have so much available bandwidth right now because I'm doing so much internal processing as I go through this like really intense personal upgrade, I guess, is really what it feels like. This like, I don't know, rebirth. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, and I'm realizing that I have to be willing to say no to a lot of things. And that includes things that I really wish I could say yes to. Like sometimes it's conversations with people that I love so much and I want to talk to them so much. I love hearing their voice. I love reading their messages. I want to respond. I'm so thankful they're in my world. And I can feel within me that it's like, no, you can't. There's just a boundary. Like you don't have enough available energy to do that. And if you try to anyways, it will, like, there will be a consequence in some manifestation or like some form or another. Like either I would, start having autoimmune flare-ups, or I would like catch a cold and it would really linger for a long time, or it's like some other area would start to suffer in my life for whatever reason. And that's just a phase that I'm personally going through, but it's really, really showing me the power of the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups is, it's like you have things, okay? You have 4 cups and they're all full. Well, usually the way it's depicted in this deck, all 4 cups are full, but often traditionally, I think it's 3 cups are full and there's 1 cup that's knocked over. And the traditional guidance is don't like focus on that one that is empty or that one that is spilled over, which is really important guidance and really important message. But I always felt like there was more to the Four of Cups. And when I really felt like I got it was when I understood the importance of being selective and saying no. That also means, for example, the importance of saying no to things that aren't, they don't belong in the manifested vision that you are like vibing in. So a really perfect example that most people can at least understand, if not relate to, is if you're single and you are looking to mingle, you want a relationship, and let's say you want a relationship that's going to have substance and depth. You want to be with somebody that wants to wants to actually be with someone. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to just sort of date and live separate lives, but hook up and bang and hang out and then go your own ways and like call each other for, it's like one of those permanent sort of booty call arrangements. You want somebody that like wants to come with you to your family functions and you want to go with them to theirs and you want to share life together. So the way the Four of Cups works in that scenario is that means you have to say no to all potential dating scenarios that come up, or dating opportunities or whatever that aren't a total complete match to what you're looking for. So that means being willing to say no to the super hot guy that you want him to like meet all of the criteria, but there are at least 2 red flags. And not red flags that he's even a bad person, but red flags that he does not want what you want, and you're going to end up like disappointed and angry and like pissed off about the situation, right? Like let's say he tells you that he loves surfing and he's one of those like surfer guys, and you're like, oh, he's so hot, he has all the muscles and he's all tan and whatever, and he tells you he loves surfing, and he like makes it very clear that most of his time is spent surfing and that he's not willing to compromise that, and that you'll kind of always play second fiddle to surfing, but you want him to be the one that you're calling in. So you ignore that red flag and you go for it anyway. Well, guess what? He's now taking the place of the person that actually would be like really an incredibly ideal match for you, because you both want the same things, and you're therefore easily going to be able to meet each other's desires and expectations without having to compromise yourselves or, you know, have a bunch of fights and disagreements and drama, right? So that's an example of the 4 of Cups energy. We have to be willing to say no to the things that aren't actually what we want, and not settle for the things that we think we have to have because there are only so many options available. Like that is just that's not even remotely true. The hologram can create anything for us. And we also have to be willing to say no to things that we just don't have the energy for while we are in this phase of our lives. We have to be willing to unfollow or mute or whatever any social media accounts that we either find triggering or distracting, you know, anything. Like if you are one of those people that you spend more time scrolling or whatever than you want to, then it would be like removing for yourself those channels or those accounts or whatever, so that when you pick up and you just automatically by default go to open your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever, you're not just drawn into a time-sucking rabbit hole of pointlessness. I'm not knocking Instagram or TikTok. I'm just saying, like, definitely that is what happens. So it's just like taking responsibility for that and realizing that your bandwidth is prime real estate. And there are a lot of entities, both, well, not just both, but like positive and negative and just neutral, that are vying for your attention. They're vying for the opportunity to build a house in your bandwidth, because your bandwidth is your attention, and they are constantly being fed by it. And then they become realer and realer and realer because they're being entertained in and by your bandwidth. So it's understanding that is like precious. It is a precious substance. It is a precious fucking resource. I would suggest that it is among the most precious resources within this realm, is our bandwidth and our attention. That is the real currency. And then finally, the message that wants to come through with the 4 of Cups is also the importance of getting clear on our sacred no. And so, you know, I said all I did about resistance, that if we push against something and we resist it because we are afraid of it, or we're afraid that it has power over us or something, like whatever is unconsciously or subconsciously motivating us to try and push something away, that is only going to manifest more of it or keep it around for longer. But that also doesn't mean that you shouldn't have things that you don't want. It's also very, very important for us to get clear and to like firmly own the things that we don't want and do not accept for ourselves. So we could say, I don't want this version of reality where this is my marriage. This is not the marriage that I want. Or this is not the housing situation that I want. I don't accept this anymore. This is not the job or career or whatever, like, or the financial situation that I want. I do not accept this. It is so fine to say no and be clear about that no and honor that no. And then what you do with it, rather than going into resistance, is you just use that to, like, that's the part that you call the bluff on. So just because you declare no doesn't mean it's instantly going to change. If it did, this would be a whole different reality. But there is a lag period in the hologram. And so we'll get clear and we'll be like, no, I don't accept this. This is not what I want. I don't want it. And so then that's when we tend to move into resistance and we try to push it away and we try to make the thing bad. But in truth, the value of that no is in the clarity that comes with it, so that whenever the hologram keeps bringing us our old familiar order that we have put in multiple times every day, over and over and over, we have come to the restaurant of the hologram and ordered this exact thing, probably unconsciously. It's like just knowing the difference between what you want and what you don't want, so that when the hologram keeps bringing you that old familiar order for a while, you can just look at it and be like, no, this isn't what I want. But ideally we would need to stay in a neutral space or return to a neutral space. Like, I'm not saying never get triggered, because that's pretty much impossible. But feel triggered, feel like the sacredness of your no. But just know it doesn't have power over you. Doesn't mean you can't have what you want. It just means that the hologram needs more reinforcement. It just needs you to reinforce and reiterate that this isn't what you want. And so you're sending the dish back. You're just being like, no, this isn't. I like to think of it as calling the bluff of the holographic matrix, because the holographic matrix is giving you something, and to buy into the bluff would be to be like, oh my God, I hate this thing, and like, oh, he's such a dick, and like, oh, this always happens to me, and like, oh, or like, all the good ones are gone, or whatever drama we entertain, right? The ways that we get triggered, and then the stories that we tell around it. Which I'm like making fun of myself, P.S. there. I'm not making fun of anybody else. I'm totally making fun of myself, my past self, and even my current self. So that is buying into the bluff of the holographic matrix. Calling the bluff of the holographic matrix would be like, no, guys, thank you for trying to give me what I have ordered numerous times before, and this is not what I want anymore. I'm sending it back to the kitchen, try again. And just being in a neutral space about it. Because I'm telling you, I've done it so many times now that I'm absolutely 100% certain that this is just actually the way it is. It's how it works. So if you have not done it as many times as I have, and you need to lean on somebody's confidence, you can lean on mine. This is fucking literally how it works. It's actually not even that mystical. We just have, forgotten how to do it. But that is the energy report for the entire week. So yeah, the whole point of it is for us to ultimately remember that we are in control of this whole situation, all of it, every aspect, every detail. There will always be variables and chaos elements, because and even those are caused by us and created by us. But there will always be pieces of our reality that are inaccessible to our conscious mind. Because if we literally held the script and held the power to edit every single aspect of the script, and there was no opportunity for randomness or chaos or shifting variables, whatever, then there would often be no growth, because the ego just wants to stay in its comfort zone. It wants to be the king of the castle. So there will always be variables. There will always be things that happen that we don't have conscious control over. And I don't want to deny that, but those things are working for us if we choose to see it that way and live accordingly. And we have control over this whole reality that we are experiencing and creating. If you enjoyed this energy report and you would love to receive more, then please sign up for my new free weekly Tarot and Akashic Energy Report series that is going to be delivered exclusively by email. As I said, this is totally free. There is no commitment. You can cancel at any time should you desire. Some of the energy reports will be longer like this. Some of them will be shorter, but they will all be absolutely overflowing with, I perceive it to be very valuable guidance for the times that we are currently navigating. These are some of my favorite things that I do. I just feel like the wisdom that comes through as I open up my channel to the Akashic Records in response to the tarot cards is some of the best wisdom, and I would love to share it with as many people who would like to receive it. So use the link provided, sign up, check it out. If you ever decide you don't want them anymore, then you can just cancel your subscription. No problem, no payment ever. This is totally free. My gift from my heart to yours. I love you so much. Thank you for being here with me. And I will catch you hopefully on the next energy report.